For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur has been waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of Dwayne Keith Davis, aka Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Trouble-plagued rapper and actor Tupac Shakur is dead at the age of 25, just about a week after sustaining 4 bullet wounds last Saturday night in Las Vegas.
The music industry comprises individuals who earn income from composing songs, recording, selling music in various formats, organizing live events, and artist development. However, behind the scenes, the industry is fraught with stories of tragedy and betrayal. One such instance is the untimely demise of Tupac Shakur 27 years ago, filled with mystery and conspiracy. The recent arrest of Keefe D has brought this case back into the public eye. Who exactly is Keefe D, and what part did he play in Tupac's death? Join us as we investigate the alleged involvement of Keefe D in Tupac's demise, as captured on camera. The shocking revelation behind Tupac's murder. There has been a major development in the long-running Tupac Shakur murder case. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police arrested one of the most influential rappers in the history of rap, Dwayne Keith Davis, also known as Keefe D, in connection with the murder. Tupac's death has been shrouded in mystery for years, but for those who closely follow news in the hip-hop world, Keefe D's involvement in the death of the rapper was an open secret. Keefe D was a member of the Southside Crips gang and is believed to be involved in the shooting of Tupac and his manager, Suge Knight, on September 7, 1996 in Las Vegas. The murder of Tupac Shakur was one of the biggest events in rap history and was the subject of many documentaries, books, and articles. Tupac was only 25 years old when he was killed, and his death left a void in the music industry that was never filled. Afeni Shakur was almost brought to tears by the death of her son, and she had been waiting for justice for 20 years. Unfortunately, Afeni Shakur passed away on May 2, 2016, after going into cardiac arrest at her home at the age of 69. She had been waiting for the cops to get justice for her slain son. But after her passing, the case regarding Tupac's murder was opened again, leading to Keefe D's arrest. The arrest of Keefe D has been a long time coming, and it has brought a sense of closure to Tupac's fans, who have been waiting for 27 years for justice. The murder of Tupac Shakur was a tragic event that shook the music industry to its core, and it is hoped that with Keefe D's arrest, the case will finally be closed and Tupac's memory can be honored and respected. Tupac, who was known for his socially conscious lyrics and his ability to capture the raw emotions of his listeners, was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas in 1996. The murder sent shockwaves throughout the music industry and left fans around the world devastated. Despite numerous leads and investigations over the years, the case remained unsolved for decades. However, in recent years, police officials have made significant progress in the investigation that identified several individuals believed to be involved in the murder. Las Vegas Metro Police arrested Dwayne Keith Davis recently. He is being held for the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur in 1996. In July of that year, police raided Keefe D's home in Henderson, Nevada. The reason for this raid was to look for notes, writing related to TV shows, documentaries, YouTube episodes, book scripts, and movies related to the murder of Tupac. The police are looking for evidence that could reveal a motive for the murder of even Tupac's killers. Along with the electronics, investigators also left Keefe D's home with USB drives, hard drives, photos, and copies of Vibe magazine and Compton Street Legends. Keefe D managed to escape the police for 27 years, but the examiners did not give up on the case. They decided to find out what happened to Tupac's killer. The raid on Keefe D's home was just one of many steps taken to solve the case. As it turns out, Keefe D was part of and was shouting from the rooftops about what happened the night Tupac died. And it all started in 2008. According to reports, the police collected evidence of Keefe running a drug ring and had enough information to put him in prison for 25 years. As the police are not willing to do that instead, they ordered Keefe to tell them what happened the night Tupac was shot. Investigators were hoping to gain the evidence they had to solve the case. They hoped that Keefe D would reveal the identity of Tupac's killers or give them clues that would lead them to the killers. The drive to Keefe D's home was just one of many steps investigators took to solve the case. They set out to find out exactly what happened to Tupac Shakur. It was a case that went cold for years, an account that spanned decades, leaving unanswered questions and shattering lives. The families of the victims were desperate for justice, but it seemed that the case would never be solved. Keefe D pleaded guilty to Tupac Shakur's murder following his surprise arrest. The Associated Press reports that Keefe D was arraigned on November 2nd in District Court in Clark County, Nevada. At the hearing, the judge ordered two special public defenders, Robert Arroyo and Charles Cannon, to represent the notorious gangster. Keefe D, meanwhile, tried to hire high-profile defense attorney Ross Goodman, which delayed the case. After the previous hearing, Goodman criticized a lack of prosecutors, saying, "No gun, no car, and no witnesses from 27 years ago. Prosecutors are not seeking the death penalty." Prosecutor Steve Wolfson told the media after the new hearing that Keefe D's was not the kind of case that deserved the death penalty, without elaborating. Keefe D was arrested on September 29th, 27 years after Tupac was killed in a drive-by shooting. At the time, prosecutors said he ordered the death of the influential rapper as a senior member of the Southside Compton Crips. Keefe D has long been linked to the shooting, but has only spoken publicly about it in recent years, describing himself as the only living witness. He did not say he pulled the trigger, and prosecutors did not dispute that. Police said Keefe D's public statements led them back to the case that led to the search of his home earlier this year. Tupac's sister, Tupac Shakur, revealed earlier that Keefe D's arrest was a turning point after the case went unsolved for years. A lawsuit can drag on for years if it's void of solid evidence. Evidence is key to any interrogation or law case. Now that the evidence is here, what is the law case all about? A new lead to Tupac's unsolved murder case. Out of nowhere, a new lead appeared. A witness who had previously been too scared to speak finally came forward. His name was Keefe D, and he was somehow involved in the shooting. At first, investigators were skeptical, but Keefe had a reputation for being unreliable. However, when they dug deeper, they discovered that he had a personal relationship with one of the victims. It was this relationship that finally gave him the courage to speak out. When Keefe D was brought in for questioning, he was visibly nervous. He knew he was taking a risk doing this, but he also knew it was the right thing to do. The examiners asked him for more information and asked him to count all the new things. At first, Keefe D was hesitant. He didn't want to blame himself or anyone else involved. But when examiners discovered they had new evidence that could indicate him, he began to shake. They approach him and say, "Here's the deal, Keefe D. We have some questions about these murders. If you don't cooperate, you go to prison for life. Also, several of your family members were caught up in your drug orders." Thus, the floodgates opened and Keefe D started spilling everything he knew. He told them about the shooter, who was long dead. He told them about the others involved, most of whom also died, and told them about his role in the shooting, which haunted him for a long time. He held nothing back, and the researchers were able to put together the missing pieces of the puzzle. After they finished, they thanked Keefe D for his cooperation. The officers admitted that it wasn't often that someone came out like this, and they knew his testimony could be decisive. Keefe D admits participation in the 1996 murder of Tupac Shakur in Las Vegas. He said that in the same car as him was his nephew, Orlando Anderson, who was a white Cadillac. In a surprising revelation, he admits that he was in the 6th-9th race, while Orlando was also in the white Cadillac. Keefe D's confession led to the drug charges against him being dropped, giving him a new chance at life and a chance to start over. However, in 2011, former Los Angeles Police Department detective Greg Kading published a book titled Murder Rapidly, which detailed Keefe D's approach. Kading's professional work forced Keefe D to reveal the truth about the murder of Tupac. The innovative book sent shockwaves throughout the rap community and influenced several prominent figures in the industry. In particular, Sean Combs, also known as P. Diddy, appeared as a prominent name in the story because Kading's book and Keefe D's story attracted audiences around the world. He believed that this was his story and he deserved credit for putting it out into the world. In 2015, 4 years after the publication of his book, a documentary was made about the beloved artist, but his name was tarnished and his reputation was destroyed for breaking the street code and collaborating with the authorities while the police made a fortune. According to Greg Kading, Keefe D, driven by his ego, regretted that someone else had shared the story instead of him. In a surprising turn of events, Keefe D decided to go public with the truth. This marked the beginning of the end for him. He appeared on several podcasts publicly revealing the gruesome details surrounding Tupac's death. In an interview with popular YouTuber DJ Vlad, it was revealed that Keefe D enjoys performing on Vlad TV, a channel with over 5 million subscribers. That belief stemmed from a plea deal in 2008. The agreement between the defendant and the government is to ensure that the statements made by the defendant during the audio interview will not be used against him in the future in connection with the failed trial. His lawyer, before participating in these interviews, mistakenly believed that he had full immunity. Although his words to the states in 2008 were protected, he did not know that anything he said outside the official chat could be used against him. That lack of knowledge ultimately led to his prosecution. As discussed in the Greg Kading interview, the plea agreement between Keefe D and the Federation was essentially a promise not to use self-incriminating statements during their conversation. However, Keefe D mistakenly thought that this agreement would apply to all aspects of his life outside. This led him to brag about his involvement in the murder, even though he didn't know the deal didn't cover anything. He talked himself into prison. Additionally, DJ Vlad revealed another reason for Keefe D's false sense of confidence: his cancer diagnosis. While some may wonder if Keefe D will end up in prison, his confession to the police in 2008, as well as his admissions and interviews with his nephew, point to him. However, in the state of Nevada, aiding and supporting means that if you act as an accessory to a crime and knowingly assist in aid, you will be held accountable for the crime in the criminal justice system. After Keefe D's arrest, he was charged with 1 count of murder, possession of a deadly weapon, and intent to further or aid a criminal gang. It is important to note that at the time of Tupac's death, Keefe D was the leader of the Southern Compton Crips gang. A conversation with the police during his arrest reveals that the former mobster knew he would soon be exposed. Hopefully, Keefe D will learn from his mistakes and use his experiences to help others walk the same path he did. During his confession, Keefe D sent chill information to the audience. It was the moment of truth that many were waiting for, but it was also a moment of sadness and pain. Tupac's loss has been deeply felt by his fans and the entire hip-hop community, and the thought that his killer has been on the loose all these years is a bitter pill to swallow. As with Keefe D's recent confession, there are growing calls for him to take responsibility for his actions. Many believe he should spend the rest of his days behind bars and pay for his crimes. His lack of remorse for his actions only adds to the fuel. As the investigation into Tupac's murder continues, it's clear that many questions remain. However, the arrest of Keefe brought us one step closer to the truth. He narrated that Tupac picked the wrong game to play and the wrong man to play with. Plus, his manager, Suge, should have protected him better, knowing who his gang was and what they could do. Keefe D said, Tupac may not have known, but Suge and his henchmen certainly did. Tupac was a guppy that was swallowed by some evil sharks. He should never have been a part of trying to be a thug. Growing up, Keefe D was heavily influenced by gang culture and had ties to the Compton Crips of the South. At the age of 15, a tragic event happened when he lost his mother to colon cancer in 2014. He fought cancer just like his mother before and survived. In 2018, he wrote a memoir about his involvement in Tupac's death and now faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison if convicted. There have been many tragedies in Keefe D's life, including the loss of his brothers, one to cancer and the other to the Compton shooting. He has spent more than a decade behind bars. Keefe D has been involved in several criminal activities, including shooting up the home of a rival gang member. His life of crime began in 1971 when peer pressure made him join the Crips, a gang common in his community at the time. After his release from prison, Keefe D hit the rap industry, hooking up with rapper Eazy-E and former drug lord Michael Harry O. This shows his considerable influence in the rap industry. Harry founded Death Row Records, a label that launched the careers of rappers and created instant rap icons. However, in 2021, former President Donald Trump intervened and commuted his sentence to 7 years. Interestingly, Harry wasn't the only death row registrar. Keefe D, who had a close associate, was involved. The gang lifestyle is sure beyond only making music and albums and organizing live concerts. What other tale goes on within the gang and music industry? Suge Knight suspiciously refuses to cooperate with police. According to Keefe D, he first met Suge Knight when they were only 9 years old, and their bond dates back to their days playing Warner Pop football. Keefe D was the founding member while Suge Knight played in the middle, highlighting their former friendship and shared experiences. Things changed when Keefe D crossed paths with Sean Combs. Their relationship began when Keefe D lent Usher a lowrider for one of his music videos. Unfortunately, the lowrider was injured during Usher's dance performance. Fortunately, Diddy took responsibility and personally funded the repairs. The event sparked a relationship between Keefe D and Diddy at a time when Diddy started Bad Boy Records, which competed with Death Penalty Records. Diddy and Suge Knight know each other. In the interview, Diddy revealed that the Death Sentence Records executive would even invite him to the airport because they were friends. Diddy would soon realize that the two music executives were not allies during the second Source Night Awards in 1995. At this point, it's quite important to remember that the event was significant. From the Nazis to the Wu-Tang Clan, the hip-hop community gathered for the award shows at the Paramount Theater in Madison Square Gardens. However, there was one notable Tupac. At the time, he was sitting on a sexual abuse case against him. On the 30th of November 1994, during a recording of music in New York, Tupac was kidnapped and shot. He claimed that people associated with Diddy's label set him up, inciting a feud between the Bad Boy and Death Penalty record label. The controversy came to a head on the night of the awards, when the Death Penalty founder accepted an award and gave a speech that later led to several awards being handed out that were directly aimed at P. Diddy, who often appeared in his artist music videos. So over the next 2 years, unfortunate events occurred that led to the deaths of Tupac, Biggie, Diddy, and Keefe D was deeply involved. According to Keefe D, discussions about Shakur's murder occurred once at a concert in Anaheim and a few times at Greenblatt's Deli on the Sunset Strip. After the story was published, Keefe D was interviewed by a detective who confirmed that he was angry with Combs. The first physical altercation between the two groups happened at the Soul Train Music Awards in March 1996. A confrontation involved childhood friends, Keefe D and Suge Knight, both members of the Southside Crips. On September 7, 1996, they traveled to La Chaumière Clocks. After the fight, they planned to meet at the MGM Grand Cafe, but Keefe D's nephew, Orlando Anderson, didn't show up. However, they have a party including everyone within the gangs, but Tupac doesn't show up. So they decide to get alcohol, and Keefe D admits to putting the Glock he intended to use in the back of the car. Continuing down the road, they encountered Tupac, who was partially hanging from the side of the BMW. His fans chanted his name, which made it easy to recognize him. The fans turned their Cadillac around and followed the BMW until they reached a traffic light. The passengers of both vehicles exchanged glances for a moment. Suddenly, Tupac reached for his gun and chaos erupted. The gunman in the backseat of the Cadillac rolled down the window and quickly fired at Tupac's BMW. According to Keefe D, one of his companions in the back seat grabbed the lock and retaliated by shooting. Tupac was hit 4 times by bullets that pierced his chest, arm, and thigh. One bullet entered his right lung. Marion Knight, also known as Suge Knight, was hit in the head by shrapnel. The attackers quickly fled the scene and even spotted 2 ambulances carrying Tupac. They decided to leave their Cadillacs and continued to party, popping bottles like any other normal night. At the hospital, Shakur was heavily sedated and put on life support machines. Despite his repeated attempts to get out of bed while in intensive care, he eventually lapsed into a medically induced coma. Tragically, on the afternoon of Friday, September 13, 1996, Shakur died of respiratory failure that led to cardiac arrest. After his retirement benefits were removed, everyone at the crime scene refused to cooperate with police, leaving them with limited leads. It was later discovered that the executions were a more traditional attempt at revenge. The following year, Christopher George Latour Wallace, also known as Biggie Smalls, was shot dead in front of the Peterson Auto Museum in Los Angeles after a party. At the Soul Train Music Awards, Suge Knight probably ordered the hit. Keefe D's arrest sparked a debate with celebrities offering their opinions on the matter. One notable voice is that of Suge Knight, who was with Tupac on the day of the shooting. Although Knight saw the occupants of the white Cadillac, he chose not to cooperate with the police. This raised suspicions among many and led some to speculate that he may have been involved in Tupac's death. The rumors began to circulate when news broke that Tupac was set to leave Death Row Records after the completion of his album, Dawn the 7 Days. He reportedly planned to start his label called Machiavelli Records. Death Row Records lost a significant amount of money due to Tupac's passing. All of Tupac's unreleased songs were allegedly owned by the record label, which planned to release them on multiple soundtracks and compilations. There was even talk of a possible new album. That rumor gained further momentum when Gaddafi, who famously appeared on the album's track, beat him up and agreed to testify about the last night shoot. Gaddafi was in the car behind Shakur and witnessed the shooting. At first, he refused to cooperate with the police, but later mentioned that he might be able to identify the attackers. However, on November 10, 1996, Gaddafi and the gunman were shot in the head again. Many suspected a crime that carried the death penalty. Gaddafi's death seemed too convenient. To make matters worse, another rumor started spreading, claiming that Tupac was indeed alive. Interestingly, this rumor was started by Suge Knight himself. While leaving a West Hollywood nightclub in 2014, he spoke on camera to TMZ and revealed that he did not kill Tupac. As many suspected, he claimed he was defending the late rapper. When Suge Knight saw the mercenaries in the white Cadillac on the day of the shooting, he decided not to help the police, leaving many skeptical. Some even speculated that he did. These rumors began to circulate after it was announced that Tupac had left Death Row Records. He only had one album ready for Donati's label, The 7 Day Theory, before he started his label called Machiavelli Records. After being convicted of murder, rumors spread that fearing for his life and tired of fame, Tupac decided to disappear and start a new life in Cuba. Adding to the mystery is that Tupac's mortician is retiring and hasn't been seen since. According to all of this, Suge Knight, who is still serving a 28-year sentence, said he never thought Keefe D would get caught, and regardless of his involvement in anything, he wouldn't wish prison on anyone, not even his worst enemy. Unexpectedly, the founder of Death Row Records explained that he did not intend to cooperate with the police or testify. This decision was understandable, given that he is currently in prison. If other prisoners could cooperate with him, his time behind bars would become unbearable. Keefe D claimed that Tupac and his crew attacked and physically assaulted his nephew, which is what made him want to exact revenge. While some of Tupac's associates were connected to their equally notorious Bloods rivals, Anderson was allegedly a member of the notorious Crips gang. Although Anderson always denied being involved in Tupac's murder, he passed away in a gang shooting in 1998. Getting to the truth of a case over 27 years is indeed shocking and eye-opening. However, it's more relieving for his family members and associates of the deceased. Families' reactions to the truth behind Tupac's death. On the other hand, Tupac's sister, Tupac Shakur, expressed her joy after hearing about the arrest after so many years. She took to Instagram and briefly shared a true message. This was what she wrote. This development marks a pivotal moment as the silence that has surrounded this case for the past 27 years has deeply affected our community. Our system and society are fully aware of the significance of the loss we have experienced due to the death of this person. She continued, "Not only was he not my sibling, he was my mother's son and important brother. His life and death remain unsolved or unnoticed. Although today's development is a step forward, I will not withhold judgment until all the facts in court proceedings are complete. It is also expected that there may be more arrests in this case. My family and I believe several people only dreamed of being in my life and the murder of my brother Tupac and our entire Shakur family." In response to the recent arrest, my older brother Moprim Shakur described it as bittersweet for several reasons. Admitting that it didn't last 27 years, he expressed sadness over his brother's absence. Jada Pinkett Smith, who has been open about her close friendship and rumored childhood romance with Tupac Shakur, shared her reaction on Instagram. The rapper Ice-T expressed his confusion over Keefe D's delay. Admitting that Keefe D has incriminated himself during interviews, Ice-T questioned why it took law enforcement so long to catch Keefe D if he was considered an accessory to the crime. Ice-T also couldn't understand why Keefe D would openly admit to being in interviews when he didn't want to be caught. Finally, it looks like justice will be served when Keefe D is put behind bars. Now the world can be sure that Tupac has gotten the justice he so deserves. Was justice justly served? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. While at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting stories.